Hey everybody, I'm Jimmy B with some Extreme for you. This is Nuno solo from Rest in Peace. Okay, so let's break this down. We're in the key of A major, and that is the first chord of the solo too. We actually start with a little run that leads us into beat number 1, but we need to know where we're trying to get to first before we can get there. So, the note we're aiming for is C sharp, the major third of an A chord. That's going to be fret 9 on the E string. We do the 16th note run to land on fret number 9 of the E string on beat 1 of the new bar. Our run is 5 notes long and it's in 16th notes. So we need to start on the last 16th of beat number 3 to get all these notes in. We're going to start on 3, E and A, and because of that it's probably best to start with an upstroke. We'll start with an E note, that is fret number 9 on the G string. We start with E to F. Onto the B string, we've got fret number 9, your G sharp, going up to fret 12, your B. And then onto the E string, we've got fret number 10, a D note, which is the last in our 5-note run, and that leads us straight into the C sharp, fret number 9, beat 1 of the new bar. Because I'm going to be playing quite slow, I'll set my metronome to 8th notes. That's always a good idea when you're playing these slower tempos. We're starting on the last 16th note of beat number 3, so it'll be after 3 and. It's going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and. Remember to start with an upstroke and use a little bit of palm muting. The first phrase of the melody uses the A major pentatonic scale. As you know, we've already started on that C sharp, the fret 9 on the E string. We play that note again before crossing over to 10 of the B string, 12 of the B string, and then 2 full step bends on that fret 12. After that bend, we have a pull off part. We're going to release the bend and then pull off down to fret 10. Before returning to the fret 12 bend. The rhythm of this is quite important. The bend, the final bend, is going to come in on beat number 2 of the bar. And that pull-off pattern maybe comes in a little later than you'd expect. Instead of coming in on 1 and playing 16th notes, it actually comes in on the last 16th note of beat 1, the A, so we need to play faster, we play 30-second notes, and then return to the bend. Let's hear it with the metronome so you can feel how it fits together. 3 and. We then get the same 5-note scale sequence, which leads us into the next phrase, again starting on the C sharp. From there, we alter it slightly. We're going to jump up to fret number 12 on the E string, and then slide back to fret 9 on the D. To finish that phrase off, we're going to play the A to B, fret 10 and 12 on the B string, sliding from fret 10 to 12, and then we use our whammy bar to dip and return to pitch. Try and be nice and relaxed, almost lazy with that dip. From there, we have our 2 pentatonic notes, C sharp, the root note A, and some bar vibrato to finish. Okay, let me play that whole opening section for you. I'll do it slowly with the metronome and you can see it close up. The next chord is D7, and we play an arpeggio kind of pull-off pattern around that chord. What we'll do is we're going to play the F sharp and the D, the major third and the root note on the E string, that's fret number 14 to 10, using a pull-off. Then on the B string we get the 7 and the 5th, so a C note and an A. Again, a pull-off. The rhythm is grouped in 6s, but the second note is going to be a rest. It's worth practicing that arpeggio pattern around and round and get really comfortable with it before you go any further. Picking wise, you might want to use downstrokes throughout to set you up for the next bar. We need to change that pattern slightly to then get a D7 sus4 sound. So our major third, fret number 14, the F sharp, is going to move up to the 4th, fret number 15, which is a G. So we've just replaced that one note. Same rhythm, same picking, we just need to stretch a little bit further for that first pull off. So we alternate between the D7 and the D7 sus, and that's going to repeat. We lead into this phrase with the same run as we started the solo with. So let's go to a close-up and you can see it all put together. The next phrase is kind of long and a little bit awkward to play. We've changed the scale we're using, it's over an F chord, and we're using an F major scale and an F major blues scale. I guess a lot of you guys will be more familiar playing in minor keys, using the minor pentatonic, the minor blues. So instead of thinking of F major, you might want to think of the relative minor, D minor, then we can use D natural minor and the D blues scale for this lick. So using this kind of hybrid scale, we start with a 16th note triplet pull off. I know that technically we're in the key of F major, but us guitarists love a minor pentatonic scale, so I'm just going to be thinking of it in D minor. We're at the top of the D minor pentatonic, we pull off on the E string, an F to a D note, before crossing over to the B string and playing the C, fret number 13. We then jump to 32nd notes, and we're going to start off with 2 notes from the D natural minor scale, fret 10 and 11 on the B string. It's a hammer-on and a pull-off. Before crossing over to the sharp 4 from the blues scale, G sharp, on fret 13 of the G string. We play that 4-note pattern twice. I like to pick that starting with an upstroke and then the note on the G string with a downstroke, but you might want to experiment with different picking patterns. From there, we're back to triplets and we're just running through the D natural minor scale, fret 10, 11 and 13 on the B string. Because of the way I've picked the previous pattern, I'm going to start this with an upstroke and pick every note. Because it's quite a long phrase, you might want to break it down into smaller sections. So let's just have a listen to how half of the bar fits together. Starting on beat 1, we got our triplet first, then 2 sets of 30-second notes and back to triplets. The second half of the bar is a little more straightforward. We stay in these 16th note triplets throughout, or you can think of it as groups of 6. We start with a run straight down this kind of hybrid scale. It's all going to be alternate picked, starting with a downstroke. We get fret number 11 again on the B string, coming down through fret 10. As we drop to the G string, we get our blues scale notes, 13, 12 and 10. Finishing off this 6-note group with fret number 12 on the D string. For the last beat of the bar, we just ascend through the D minor pentatonic or F major pentatonic, and we're going to use some hammer-ons, starting on the D string, 10 and 12. Onto the G string, pick fret 10 and then hammer 10 to 12. Then finishing off on the B string, fret 10 and 13 for the first beat of the next bar. We're just going to tag a little bit more onto the end of this phrase. The chord has changed to a G major, so the B flats that we played before, fret number 11 on the B string, now need to be replaced with fret number 12 on the B string. We get kind of a G mixolydian sound, or if we're thinking of D, it's D Dorian. It starts finger 3, fret 12 on the D string, moving to finger 1 on the G string, and then we're going to bend fret number 12, finger 3 on the B string, just up a half step so it sounds like 13, a little flick from the bar, and finishing off with a pull off between 12 and 10 on the B string. Let's put that whole phrase together. You'll see it close up and hear it nice and slow. The second half of our solo is a little more chilled out and a little more melodic. It starts with a chord of C, so we're going to target the G note, the 5th in a C major chord, fret 15 on the E string. We lead into that from the previous bar with a run through the C major scale. We start on the and of beat 3 with a 16th note triplet hammer-on pattern. We're going to play on the G string, fret 12, 14 and 16, G, A and B, before jumping to 16th notes, ascending just further through the scale, C, D, E and F, before landing on your G, that 5th of the C major chord. The next phrase uses lateral movement just on one string, on the E string, and that allows us to use some cool melodic devices like your bends and your slides. It starts with the bend. We're going to bend the G up to an A, release it back to pitch, continue down the scale to F, and then we're going to put a slide down to the E. There's then a slide from F to G, and then a bend from E to F, before returning to the E, and finishing with a C note, fret number 8 of the B string. The next phrase is very cool and follows the chord changes. We've got a chord of F, so we use the F major pentatonic. That's going to be an A, a C and a D. But the chord then changes to B flat, kind of B flat 7. So we now use B flat mixolydian. We use a bend from D to E flat, just a half step. Return to D and then coming down to a C. Before crossing over with finger 1 again to the G string, this time an A flat note, fret 13, which is the 7 from your B flat 7 chord. From there, we add the B flat, then a hammer-on pull-off between A flat and B flat, followed by a slide down to G. The chord changes again in the next bar to a C major. So we bend a D up to an E note, the major third from a C major chord. Sounds like there's quite a lot of weird changes going on there, but because we're following the chords, you end up with a really cool sounding melody. Coming into our final phrase, we're back to the C chord and the C major scale. We're picking all of these notes. We're going to start with the B string, C, D and E. And then on the E string, your F and G. And then we go to a bend, G to A. That bend is then going to be released before playing an F on the E string, and then another slide down to the E fret 12. We then get the same slide, F to G, 13 to 15. The E to F bend, 12, up a half step. Returning to E and then landing on a C. When we get to that C note, we're going to add an A on the string below, so fret number 10 on the B, fret number 8 on the E. That gives us an A and a C, the 3rd and 5th from our F major chord, which is underneath. Let's put all of that together. And if you want, you can end that with the open E string, which is into that kind of Hendrixy section that comes in the next part of the song. So, a great solo there by Mr. Bettencourt. Make sure you listen to the record so you can pick up on all the phrasing and all those little nuances that make it sound really, really cool. I'll see you next time.